Purpose Highway is a space for discussions that drive connections toward people's highest purpose to build a better self and a better world. Join me for Season 1, where I start to uncover stories of entrepreneurs and thinkers that are making an impact. I'm your host, Scott Mason, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Scott Mason's Purpose Highway. I am very excited about the guest we have today, Tildet Varon. She is an inner mastery specialist. She is an inspirational speaker, and she is a stress mastery specialist as well. She does a lot of work with individuals and human-centric corporations. We're going to find out a lot about her today, but I promise you this is going to be a fun time with someone whose life story and message will pump you up and leave you feeling magnificent. Tildet, welcome to the show. It is so good to have you.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Scott. I am excited and I love our conversation. So let's do it.
Let's roll it. Now, in my world, as you know, everything ultimately seems to go back to two themes: disco or Donna Summer. Is your life a hit single, or is it an album with a bunch of great tracks?
I love that question. I think mine is a bunch of tracks, and the tracks keeps coming on, and that is the zest of life for me. I don't know what track I'll be on, but I'm willing and curious to explore the track and make the best out of it.
I will say one track that makes me think of you, and of course it is a disco one, is I Will Survive. Tell us a little bit about, I see from your reaction, you can relate. Why on earth would that song mean anything to you?
Oh, my God, you knew my song. That is the song that got me through the darkest parts of my life. In my car, I would be singing, I will survive. As long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive.
Immortal words, right?
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yes, so that happened. You know, there are many things that happened. There's a reason why I became a stress mastery educator. Now I can say it with a smile, but I was blessed with so much stress in my life. I had no other choice but become a stress mastery educator. And I've been on the side where stress brought me down, where I went through difficult times, and I know how that feels. But I also now know how the other side is, where you live your life with love, with fulfillment, doing what you love, with the people you love, and you know you have the skills how to transform your stress and grow with it. So how the song came about is my divorce story.
Tell us.
About 15 years ago or so, unexpectedly, and I don't know how it was unexpected, but it was unexpected for me. I went through a divorce after being married for 20 years. And you can probably tell I have an accent because I'm from Turkey, New York.
Is Turkey, New York an actual place, or is it a state of mind?
Well, I tell people, I know we're diversing, but when I tell people I am from Long Island, New York, they look at me like, what? When I say Turkey, New York, they go, uh-huh. So I'm making the map. So I think everybody in their minds have a place for Turkey, New York. So I came to New York because I followed my heart, and I met this man on a bus trip in Egypt. He was from New York, and I was from Turkey, and you know, as cheesy as it is, our eyes met, and I was like, oh, he may be the one. And I was only 22 years old, and I left everything dear to me, my friends, my family. I jumped on a plane, came for this New Yorker that I only knew for 10 days, and I had never been to New York before.
But had you heard of it before at least?
A little bit, yes. How can you not? Yes, I
Thank
did.
goodness that you at least had heard of it.
I had heard of it. So I came and I did marry this man. So he became everything to me. So that's why the divorce was a big crisis for me. So we all have different crises in our lives, whether it's our health, separation, death. For me, as many stressors that I had in my life, my divorce, I think, was the biggest. And I did not know how I would survive because he had become everything. And I had 3 children. And so that's when the song I Will Survive was the only thing that kept me going. Was I will survive as long as I know how to love. Yeah. And when that love, doing the practices and going through so many seminars and I don't know how many books and trying desperately to find a way to connect to love again so I can be there for my children, for myself, and make a difference in the world. That was the song that I used to sing in my car.
I love it.
And I love that you just intuitively just brought it up. It's all written on me, I guess.
Well, speaking of disco songs and love and survival, let me ask you then, in light of that, do you believe in life after love?
Yes, I sure do. Love is within us. So every track has love. Every life has love. If we have the ability to seek and find, and there's that beautiful quote, I don't remember totally, by Rumi. It is how you take away the barriers that is blocking you from finding love in a sense. And I think if we allow that and if we explore that, there is love in everything.
You know, I want to go back a bit and ask you a question about your relationship with your husband, though. So you were Turkish, you came to this strange city, New York, and you were married to him, and you said that he was everything to you. What does that mean? Was he just psychologically everything? Were you financially dependent on him? Lots of people feel like they're deeply connected with someone. There's a divorce. What made this situation unusual?
That's a great question. I think there are different answers to that as I'm looking back. I think for a 22-year-old not knowing anyone and coming to a new country, to a culture that you've never been exposed to, from a very, I would say, privileged environment that I grew up in Turkey with a big family, with a lot of love. And I was all by myself and I had to work from the very beginning. And I never worked in Turkey before and everything was new. So I was looking at him to guide me. I was looking at him for answers. I was looking at him. I was giving all my power. Now I can see that I was giving all my power to him to save me, to make me happy. And later on, of course, I learned that only we can make ourselves happy. The love is within us. And if we don't empower ourselves and we become dependent, then we never find who we are and our purpose. And that is what gives us the energy. For me, finding my purpose, finding who I am, and really letting go. And now I can say, I see the blessing of my divorce, because I would have impacted only my ex-husband and my children, and now I've impacted thousands of lives just because I went through this difficult period and I wanted others to learn from me and get on my shoulders and understand what it is. So does that answer your question? So looking at it, at that time, financially, was I dependent on him? No, because I am an entrepreneur, and I have been. It was in my blood at all times. So I arrived to this country at 22 as a pharmacist, and at 23, I opened a women's clothing store. So when you talk about tracks, Scott, I have so many tracks. Yes. So I opened a women's boutique on Lexington and 63rd, and it was successful. So financially, I wasn't dependent, but emotionally I was. And I thought I was. I gave him that power, that he knew what to do, when to do, how to do. And I was just this, I was minimizing who I am and putting him on a pedestal and looking up, infatuated. And I think that had an impact on my marriage, most likely, now that I can look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because, a lot of people operate from a mindset of, oh, if I adore this person, if I worship them, if I flatter them endlessly, if I pedestalize them, they will be so enamored with my, infatuation with their magnificence or their perfection that they'll love me. When really a lot of times we don't realize it, but that worshiping of another human being actually sometimes can cause them to hold us in contempt, or at least cause them to devalue us and what we can bring to the table. And psychologically, it does take away our power. Do you agree with that, or am I just saying words that don't make even any sense?
Oh no, I agree 100%. I think it's not good for them. It's not good for us. It's not good for the greater good, really, to be minimized. Yet there is no book to tell us how to be in a relationship, what to do. I mean, there are many books, but when we're experiencing it and all these different our beliefs, our stories come into play, I think we can't, if we are putting someone on a pedestal or in a pit, we're not heart to heart with them. And that is the missing point. And now I'm in a relationship for 8 years with the love of my life.
Aww,
and
congratulations.
Thank you. And it's very different because I grew up, because I can be heart to heart with him. I can remove myself from a pit or a pedestal, whereas before I didn't have that awareness.
Am I hearing you talk a little bit about the concept of accountability in an interpersonal romantic relationship?
Yes, accountability, and really our willingness and our courage to show up as who we are, Scott, in everything that we do. In our relationships, in our work, in our personal life, in our families, with our friends. It is the accountability of taking responsibility. Instead of blaming, shaming, I've come to understand, what is my role here? Am I engaging with this person to bring the best out in them while I'm bringing the best out in me? And what is needed, and that deep listening and deep reflection of who am I, who is this person, where can we meet, and how can we support each other to become better?
Amazing. Tildet, that's... wow, I love it. And it's something I wish I had known a little bit earlier in the history of my own romantic relationships. But that's another story that I'll be asked about on a podcast one day. Not today. What I want to talk about actually is stepping back a little bit in the conversation. You used an interesting word twice to describe things in a way that I think most people would not describe them. In particular, you said the stress that you've had in your life was a blessing. You said that the divorce was a blessing. Now, most people I know would not get down on their knees and thank the universe or God or spirits or whatever it is that they believe bestows blessings upon them for traumas like those. Yet you just did. How did you make that mental twist in your head? And talk to us a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it is hard to understand where you're in the middle of it. But over the years, as experiences went on, I came to understand, Scott, that everything in life happens, everything that happens serves us and hurts us. And
Wow.
it is our focus that creates the reality and expands the perception. So everything that is happening, we want to see when it is aligned with our values. We're like, oh, this is great. This is wonderful. It's so easy to love that person, that situation, that circumstance, because it is aligned with who you are. But if that person or the situation challenges you, we want to avoid it. We want to make it bad. We title it, this is bad, this is horrible, this is terrible. So I invite everyone, and this is a process, but I invite everyone to look deeper and to look and see, how is this benefiting me? How is this situation benefiting me? What is it bringing? And in some circumstances, that's very hard to do. But once you start seeing the both coins of life, in life, it's like a coin. There's the plus and there's the minus. And if we look at the quantum physics, and I'm getting into the physics, but
we want to hear that.
Yes, when we go into the quantum physics, plus and minus exist simultaneously. And even if you separate them and put them in the North and the South Pole, they still affect each other in the way one effect and the cause is always related. So is in life. There is no plus or minus without each other.
Yet something happened when you were a little girl that I think would be very difficult for people to argue was a plus. And you know what I'm talking about. And anyone who goes to your website, and we'll give you a chance to shout out to your website later in this recording, but everyone should, because your website, I have to say, is excellent.
Thank you.
But talk to us a little bit about this event. You know what I'm talking about, and why it would be difficult for me to believe that you really, this is a positive. But I know I could be wrong, and I want to hear about why my assumption is wrong too.
Yes, a lot of people think, this is Pollyanna. This is not Pollyanna. This is how our mindset, the growth mindset, this is the trusting who we are, trusting the power of healing, because this goes back to, I know that you're talking about the car accident probably, Scott, that I went through when I was 15. When I was 15 years old, unfortunately, we were in a nearly fatal car accident where my father was driving the car. My uncle died, and I fractured my neck. And I remember being in the hall of the hospital on the stretcher all by myself, because my parents were also injured and they were not able to be with me. And hearing the doctors say, she may never walk again. And you can imagine, how devastating that can be to a 15-year-old, to any year-old.
How did you even cycle? Like, what was going through your mind when you heard that? I can't even begin to imagine.
It was so scary, and it was almost like unreal. Everything that was happening, because I was on the stretcher, my father was on another stretcher, and then my aunt ran in telling us that my uncle had passed. And that was like, I remember my father saying, this cannot be real. This is not real. And I'm lying there saying, this is not real. This is not real. And something within me, something opened up. I don't know how to explain that, Scott, but something within me said, you can't take this prognosis. You're going to do better. And I was in Turkey, so there was no really a lot of psychological support, emotional support. Like, I didn't see a therapist or this or that. I wish I had, but I did have great doctors, medical care, physical therapy. But something inside of me kept saying, you can. Just believe that you can. And I remember my school principal at that time brought me this book, Jonathan the Seagull. And I
Yes.
think it was the first opening to spirituality for me. And just believing that I can do it. And I guess I was lucky. I don't know if this is luck. I don't know. This is, I cannot name it. Some things it's hard to explain and name, but I did walk and I did do a lot of great things. So that gave me the awareness of the healing power we have within ourselves. And that led me to exploring that healing power further. And, I went to college to become a pharmacist, to explore more, and later on alternative medicine and different things. But what I guess, looking back, what is important through all these crises are that ability to trust and have people around us that believe and support us in becoming better, in getting positive, because it's very easy to slide down and to spiral down and get lost, because
Well,
those are scary moments.
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to ask you about because, I'm sure that there are folks listening to this who themselves or in their circles have people who might not have responded the same way. They might be thinking, if I had an accident and my neck was broken, my uncle had just died, and I was in any country, particularly in the time that this was, where medical technology is not what it is now. And medical technology now, by the way, in this area is far from perfect, as we all know. That I might have just sort of given up. Well, I might have just accepted it. And yet here you were as a teenager saying, I'm not, on some level or another, I'm going to have hope, or this isn't going to be a fate that I will let happen to myself. What do you say to someone if you're afraid that you are a person who doesn't have the gift of that sort of natural inner commitment to hope or to the future?
Yes.
Like, what if your natural disposition as you experience it is to be hopeless? Or what if you are someone who tends to resign? What if you're someone who just for whatever reason has never learned or never doesn't have it in you, or you feel you don't have it in you to be that fighter? What do you say to someone like that?
Yeah, and I often ask that to myself, Scott. That's such an important question, because I've dedicated my life to helping others that are in these situations, because I know the pain, I know the darkness. And there is also certain, of course, reality. Some of us are born more optimistic, more feisty. Our genetic dispositions may be different. So for some people, triggers are different, and the way we respond to them are different. And at those times, if you don't find it in yourself for some reason, and I don't know that reason, I'm a feisty person, I'm a fighter.
You?
Well, you wouldn't know. Yes, but I don't know if that's genetic. I don't know if that's learned. And that's something I think science, spirituality, psychology, everything is exploring. So what my recommendation will be for someone that's having a really difficult time is finding someone that has gone through similar things and asking for help. I think a lot of the times we take asking for help as a weakness, but it's a strength. It's a strength to say, hey, I can't do this on my own. Can you help me? And I think it is time to understand our interconnectedness and understand the impact and the ripple effect we make on each other, and reaching out for help if we don't have it within us. Some of us do, some of us it's harder to tap into. Yet at 15, somehow I had that in me, but at later on in my divorce at 40, then I reached out for help because I didn't
Wow.
know what to do with it.
And so what you're talking about is the fact that our personal development actually may not be as linear as it can be easier for us to think about. Because in a way, what you're saying is that in a time of extreme crisis, I would even say existential crisis, at least as far as your ongoing existence as a living, breathing organism was concerned, you were able to have that drive where you didn't need to reach out for help, or it manifested itself less, whatever help you needed manifested itself less overtly, and you went into a hyper survival mode. Whereas later, you were in a position where the vulnerability was more on the surface. And it's interesting because sometimes people can think, and I'm as guilty of this as anyone, that there is a genuine, especially if you're involved in self-development work, there's a genuine, consistent forward motion in life.
Yes. I also don't, yes, and that's very important what you're bringing up, Scott, but I also don't want to negate the power of community. See, in Turkey, I was in a community. I had my family. I had my friends. I had the community helping me, lifting me. And I believe, and this is all as we are reflecting, I'm also processing this in our conversation right now. Mm-hmm. And when I was here and I came and I didn't have that kind of community to support me, and I dove into just working and doing things, and I didn't have the community I had in Turkey. And maybe that caused also that loneliness, that desperation. So that pushed me towards reaching out to others and ultimately creating the community I was seeking for. And I'm grateful to have created a beautiful community now. And I think that there's so many different tracks to this song.
Yes. Keep bringing it back to music and disco, please. Find a way to mention Donna Summer somehow. I'll love you even more. Actually, I'm gonna interject there and ask another question. You have just talked a little bit about the concept of community. And interestingly, as you know, the theme of this podcast is connecting people, creating a space for people to find their purpose, to build a better self and a better world. Embedded in that, then, is the idea that self-development and isolation is nothing. We all operate within community. Do you agree with me?
Oh, I wouldn't be here. I have the same thing in everything I do. Also, I say, Scott, better people, better business, better community, better world.
I love. Now, Tildet, tell me, if every last person on the planet worked with you, went through one of your programs, had some time having some of that Tildet Varon magic worked on them, what would the planet Earth look like?
That's a good question. My dream would be, my dream is that we would all understand that we are all one, we are interconnected, that without each person's happiness, we cannot be happy. Without each person authentically showing up in their gifts, in their magnificence of their being, and my tagline is unfold your magnificence. I believe we are all here, unique, magnificent in our gifts and in our contribution to ourselves and to the world. And we all need each other for this world to be a better place. So in that, my dream would be that we will all love each other unconditionally, try to understand each other and give ourselves permission to be who we are, and try to learn from each other even in our disagreements. Be great listeners to ourselves and to each other, and to have the purpose of serving the common and the greater good. and really looking at things from many different perspectives and widening our understanding of each other, of our cultures, our beliefs, so that it becomes a zesty, beautiful place where everyone has the freedom to be. And in that freedom, we all dance in the disco to our own rhythm, to the song of our heart, freely and with confidence, and just dancing away.
Wow. I am in disco heaven. And you know what? I think the whole world needs to be in disco heaven. You know, Tildet, you have unfolded a little bit of your own magnificence here. And I know that it's just a little bit of your magnificence because I know a fair bit about you. How can people find out more about your magnificence, and how can they contact you so that you can help them unfold their own magnificence?
Yeah, thank you. So my website, tildet.com, tildet.com. There are many things there, and they can reach me also through my email, tildet@tildet.com. Once you get my name, Scott, life is easy. Everything is Tildet.
Well, one thing that you have in common with these disco divas, since I'm obsessing on this today, is the ability to have a single name. Beyonce, Madonna, Tildet.
Yes, thanks to my dad. That was my dad's gift to me. So yes. So on my website, there are different explorations they can do. There is my ebook for free, Transform Stress into Success. There is a 7-day journey of reducing stress where they'll get emails, daily meditations and practices and ways to enhance life and to reduce stress. There are many different things in my growth store on my website. And of course, if there's something specific that they're looking to do or they want to bring to their company, my Stress Mastery program, we can have a conversation and see how I can be of service.
Do you want to give a very brief shout out to the wonderful organization that brought us together?
Yes, thank you. I love National Speakers Association, New York City chapter, where we met each other and where a lot of people are coming there with this same vision that we share our knowledge, our expertise, our gifts to support each other and make the world a better place through sharing, through supporting, and through community.
I love it. Thank you, Tildet. It has been a genuine pleasure having you on board. Everybody, I know this has been an extraordinary trip down the Purpose Highway. We will see you on the next episode. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Join our community today at purposehighway.com and subscribe to get notified when new episodes go live. Scott Mason, checking out.